Welcome to our presentation on the psychological foundations of curriculum. The psychological foundations of curriculum are of interest to educators and curriculum specialists, as psychology explains how individuals learn. Understanding how to increase the chance a student will learn is the basis for designing and implementing effective curriculum. As Ornstein and Hunkins reminds us, curriculum has worth only when students learn and gain knowledge. There are three major psychological theories of learning: behaviorism, cognitive information processing theories, and phenomenological humanistic theories. These different theories allow teachers and curriculum specialists to understand how learners act and interact within the classroom, and how behavior can be influenced within the context of the curriculum. Behaviorism is based on the philosophical ideas of Aristotle, Locke, and Rousseau, where there must be a stimulus response with a focus on conditioning, modifying, and shaping behaviors with reinforcement and rewards. Behaviorism relates to individualized learning, direct instruction, and mastery learning, where a curriculum is organized, prescriptive, and diagnostic. However, this theory is too rigid to stand alone as the only focus in curriculum development. Edward Thorndike is considered the founder of behavioral psychology. He developed the theory of connectionism, where learning is a result of an association between a stimulus and a response. In this way, Thorndike felt learning was really about the formation of habits. He developed three laws of learning: the law of readiness, the law of exercise, and the law of effect. John B. Watson focused on classical conditioning, using Pavlov's research as a basis for human behavior. He believed shaping a learner's environment was the most important aspect of teaching and learning. B.F. Skinner specifically tied his theory of operant conditioning to the classroom, with the idea of elicited and emitted responses. He argued teachers have many positive and negative reinforcers to use to affect learning. Albert Bandura contributed to the theory of observational learning and how students learn through observation and teacher modeling. Robert Gagne studied hierarchical learning, which is the transition between behaviorism and cognitive learning theories. He presented 8 types of learning in a hierarchical format: signal learning, or classical conditioning, which is a response to a given signal. For example, fear response to a rat. Stimulus response, or operant conditioning, or SR, a response to a given stimulus. For example, a student's response to the command, "Please sit." Motor commands, or linking together 2 or more SR conditions or connections to form a more complex skill. For example, dotting the I and crossing the T to write a word with an I and T. Verbal association, or linking 2 or more words or ideas. For example, translating a foreign word. Multiple discriminations, responding in different ways to different items of a particular set. For example, discriminating between grass and trees. Concepts, or reacting to a stimuli in an abstract way. Examples include animals, grammar, and so on. Rules, or chaining 2 or more stimulus situations or concepts. An example, animals have offspring, or an adjective modifies a noun. Problem solving, or combining 2 known rules or principles into new elements to solve a problem. For example, finding the area of a triangle given the dimensions of 2 sides. Gagne further defined 5 learning outcomes: intellectual skills, information and knowledge, cognitive strategies, motor skills, and lastly, attitudes, feelings, and emotions learned through experiences. Behaviorism principles impact how teachers design curriculum in ways to make it relevant and enjoyable for students. When new information is presented, the curriculum should make positive connections to previous knowledge and experiences. Curriculum based on behaviorism is organized, highly prescriptive, and diagnostic, and with structured learning methods. This helps teachers to break down information and tasks in appropriate ways to help struggling learners and reinforce desired behaviors. However, a criticism of behaviorism is that it makes learning too mechanical and is too reliant on classical conditioning. An overuse of testing, monitoring, and drilling can occur. Learning is a messy and organic process combined with complex cognitive thinking, and humans cannot be treated like animals in an experiment. The next learning theory is cognitive information processing, where the student is considered in relation to the environment and how the student applies information. This theory focuses on developmental stages, multiple intelligences, creativity, problem solving, and critical thinking. Maria Montessori studied how sensory experiences affect learning and believed learning occurs when students feel emotionally secure. She created the Montessori philosophy of education in 1907, which is still popular today. Jean Piaget believed the keys to learning are assimilation, accommodation, and equilibrium. He developed cognitive developmental stages, which include sensory motor stage from age birth to age 2, pre-operational stage from age 2 to 7, concrete operational stage from age 7 to 11, and formal operation stage, ages 11 and older. Hilda Taba expanded Piaget's cognitive theory with her own curriculum strategies for productive learning. She believed curriculum must be organized to align with prior knowledge and experiences, assimilation, to progress from concrete to more abstract concepts, accommodation, and to adapt to new information, equilibrium. Reuven Feuerstein, a student of Piaget's, developed the theory of structural cognitive modifiability and mediated learning experiences, or MLE. He asserted cognitive development could be changed through specific teacher interventions, so no longer could be accepted that a person's intelligence was fixed and unable to be improved. Feuerstein developed an assessment known as the Learning Propensity Assignment Device, or LPAD, and an intervention program called the Feuerstein Instrumental Enrichment Program, or FIE. Lev Vygotsky believed social interaction aided in the development of cognition in children. His theories of more knowledgeable other, or MKO, and zone of proximal development, or ZPD, are of most importance. The MKO is a person who holds more knowledge than the learner, whether that be a teacher or a peer, to help support the learning process. The ZPD is a concept of what a student can achieve on their own versus what he or she could learn with the guidance of an MKO. This is also known today as scaffolding. J.P. Guilford designed what he called the structure of intellect. This theory of intelligence was comprised of 6 products: units, classes, relations, systems, transformations, and implications; 5 operations: knowledge, memory, divergent thinking, convergent thinking, and evaluation; and 4 contents: figured, symbolic, semantic, and behavioral. His model identified 125 potential cognitive processes, or cells, of distinct mental abilities that could be tested through specific standardized tests. Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences is based on Guilford's structure of intelligence. He explains how humans possess several ways of to process information, and one can be low in one domain but high in another. His 9 multiple intelligences include verbal, logical, visual, kinesthetic, musical, intrapersonal, interpersonal, spatial, naturalistic, and existential. The cognitive information processing theory impacts curriculum because it is a widely used method to organize learning, as pre-service teachers are generally trained in this approach. Most contemporary behaviorists embrace cognitive learning theories into their own because learning involves cognitive processes. However, care must be taken to avoid cognitive overload in students. Ornstein and Huggins postulate the cognitive theory is incomplete and often leaves students bored and uninspired. Teachers cannot ignore developmental stages, multiple intelligences, creativity, problem solving, and critical thinking skills simply because using boring worksheets and bland textbooks is easier. The third psychological theory of learning is the phenomenological and humanistic theory. This is the idea of developing and educating the whole child, including social, psychological, and cognitive development, as well as considering the student's needs, attitudes, feelings as a learner. Emotions can both help and hinder learning. Abraham Maslow developed the hierarchy of needs, which are 6 basic human needs for survival and well-being through his self-actualization theory. He believed individuals are motivated to fulfill their potential as long as their needs are met, starting with the lowest level and moving upwards. Carl Rogers' non-directive teaching model is concerned with developing a student's ability for self-directed learning and self-discovery. He felt curriculum should be concerned with the process over product, personal needs over subject matter, and psychological meaning over cognitive scores. For Rogers, classrooms should be learner-centered with the teacher as a facilitator. Daniel Goleman believes emotions have the power to affect one's actions, which he called emotional quotient. He identified 5 characteristics of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. His theories have developed into the various social and emotional learning, or SEL, curriculum components we see popular in schools today. Martin Seligman is a leader in the field of positive psychology, the study of individual and community strengths that allow them to thrive. He believes it is critical for humans to cultivate their talents and build healthy relationships and embrace an optimistic mindset. The phenomenological and humanistic theory impacts curricula before it is even taught. Humanistic theorists believe students' affective needs hold more importance than cognitive needs. Therefore, if a student does not feel safe and confident to learn and have his or her needs met, they are more likely to feel frustration, act out, or socially withdraw in the classroom. When students feel satisfied and connected to learn, they are much more likely to achieve. As Ornstein and Hunkins explain, teachers and curriculum specialists must figure out how to capture the student attention and motivation by incorporating their needs, interests, and feelings in the learning process. The authors encourage teachers to support all learning, not just cognitive ability, including effort, improvement, imagination, individuality, enthusiasm, and maturity. Weaving socio-emotional learning and emotional intelligence into the school's curriculum will only help improve student achievement as scholars and human beings. The psychological aim within curriculum is development, progress, and growth, both scholarly and morally. Psychological principles help school in the greatest of all structures, of a free and influential character. Psychological influences of curriculum can best be understood through the theories of learning. The curriculum should flow with the student's level of development. This is because the learner's age and skills influence learning. Curriculum planners and teachers must take into consideration the requirements and activities of the students in the curriculum decision-making process. In the school and classroom setup, Maslow's needs are demonstrated, and educators align the curricula to the level of the children's mental abilities. Learning capabilities need to be developmentally suitable and the curriculum manipulatives must be presented only after the students have achieved the level of mental capacity needed to master them. Teachers and curriculum designers should make sure that the curriculum permits varied learning experiences and active participation of the learner in the teaching and learning situation. In addition, the curriculum should present opportunities for self-innovation and play because it fosters a holistic development of the child. The curriculum should not be formed to guide, but facilitate mental construction. Learning experiences should be designed to allow practice of behaviors the learning objectives suggest, express what the learner believes he or she is expected to learn, and allow students to progress at their own pace. The teacher should consider the student's willingness to learn. Such willingness is recognized through their success in listening and speaking skills. The student's willingness to learn is also determined by their capability to read. The development of these language skills occur according to the learner's stage of development. Teachers should coordinate the lessons in such a way to capitalize on the opportunity to establish a mental learning process as a student build their own knowledge. According to Ornstein and Huggins, each student must partake in producing meaning. The task of learning is not to passively absorb information by mirroring the wording and conclusions of others, but students should involve themselves in implementing and restructuring knowledge through successful consideration. Teachers should organize learning through stages of development. Learners move through numerous stages of development, and thus teachers should understand individual differences based on developmental stages. Various individuals proceed differently through the stages of development, which is why it's best not to compare students. Teachers need to be aware of the strengths and limitations of learners at different stages of development. This way, the teachers can guide the learners based on identified developmental issues. The curriculum must be examined and assessed to decide the level of mental ability that is required to comprehend them. This is because learning requires assimilation of new experiences with prior experiences. Only knowledge of the order and connection of the stages in psychological development can ensure the proper evaluation of the curriculum.